Hey everyone, John Grimsmo here. Today we are going to talk about coolant system upgrades because I've got some cool stuff that I'm installing or have already installed. So I want to show you guys. So on my Tormach PCNC1100, I've been running flood coolant, and this is the stuff I've been running for the past 3 years. Super brand Premier Synthetic Coolant 600. I bought this stuff from Tormach, and I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love that it's a clear coolant, so when I film, I can see the end mill, I can see everything. I can see the whole workpiece and everything, so that's really cool. It doesn't stink, it always smells nice, it smells kind of sweet. I don't mind the smell at all. It never gets funky or fungusy or gross smelling or anything. I hear about all this stuff with oil-based coolants that they develop fungus and mold on the top of the tank and they start to stink and get rank after a while and all this stuff, and I have none of that problem with this coolant. My major concern with this coolant is that if it's too lean, then it rusts everything. If it's too rich, it eats paint. So as you can see, after 3 years of use, my spindle is completely horribly rustied. Paint is peeling off there and rusting underneath. I powder coated the door. I powder coated the trays again because they were horrible before. So now everything except for this little section right here is repainted and nice. The spindle head didn't seem to get too bad. Maybe a different type of paint or something, but yeah, I'm not quite sure how to fix that because that panel isn't removable without a lot of rewiring. Who knows, maybe one day I'll relocate the whole cabinet behind the mill. I don't know, I want to cover it up or something just so it's not ugly. But anyway, with the spindle head, I got a replacement from Tormach. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. I got a brand new spindle head, not just the bearings, but the whole shaft and everything. So that will replace basically from this bolt pattern. That whole thing comes off, new one goes in, I get new bearings, I get a non-rusty spindle, so that's going to be wicked. I'm completely out of this coolant. I've gone through a few bottles now, and I'm out, and I haven't bought more, and I want to switch to something completely better. So I've done a whole ton of research, and there's dozens of different kinds of coolants out there. But lately, especially following a bunch of machinists on Instagram, one is kind of taking at least the Instagram machinist world by storm, and that's Qualichem. I got a big 5-gallon jug, Qualichem Extreme Cut 251C from Toronto Lube Services. They're the distributor. So Qualichem doesn't sell anything directly, you have to get through distributors, but you just call or email them and they will hook you up with your local distributor, no big deal. So there's lots of different kinds of coolant that Qualichem sells. There's the 250 and 251 series, and then there's the 290 and 291 series. From what I can gather, the 250 series is primarily for aluminum, but it's also kind of for everything. And the 290 series is primarily for like high alloys, it's late, I'm losing my mind. You know, like stainless, titanium, stuff like that. So in a perfect world, that's what I would have preferred. But for my application, for my horsepower and cut, you know, strength and all that stuff, I don't need the absolute most ideal best coolant ever. I just need a really good coolant. And I think the 250 series is going to be a good, excellent general purpose coolant. That'll do everything. And the other thing is, they didn't stock any 290 stuff in Canada, so it would have been many, many weeks to get it here, so whatever. 250 will be fine. I know that the Tesla machine shop in California runs Qualichem. Mighty Byte runs Qualichem. Apparently Google runs Qualichem. I heard that, and I'm like, Google has a machine shop? Okay, that's cool. As well as a whole bunch of machinists on Instagram are starting to run Qualichem. Really impressive results. Everybody absolutely loves it. They say it smells good, it never goes bad, it doesn't rust, it's just excellent. So I invested in that. This was about $240 Canadian, which is definitely on the high side of coolant. But you pay to play. 5 gallons should last me a long time because I've been using little 1-gallon jugs. But now I have 2 machines, so if I fill them both up and keep them full, this should last me maybe a year or something, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was just machining today and saw my nozzles start to go really weak and just bleh. So it's definitely time to get new coolant in there because I'm out. So here's my coolant tank. I'm pretty sure I did a video on this. I upgraded the system, just Rubbermaid tub here. I did a double tub just because I don't want any leaks. Pond pump from Home Depot is a 1/6 horsepower. I think that's an excellent horsepower. 1/3 horsepower will be even better, but it might be too much for this kind of machine and stuff. So yeah, I need to drain this and kind of clean out the tank real quick. And then as far as upgrades, you can see the blue hoses I just put in. One goes from the pump to the up to the filter. I reinstalled my filter. Excellent tip from a guy in Victoria, BC, who's got a Tormach and makes kitchen knives. This fitting from Home Depot, you can see how the filter unit just goes in there. I found one of these at Home Depot and showed me a picture and I loved it. So we just got a piece of aluminum, bent it around, used 2 of the existing bolts in the side of the enclosure here, some foam to keep it quiet, and now I can install my filter. Because I haven't had the filter on the enclosure because I didn't know how to mount it without some serious bracketry or surgery or whatever. So I'm really happy with that slip thing because now filter changes are a breeze. I just lift it up and change the filter, which I will have to do tonight. So I reinstalled the filter. Got a new gauge because this one crapped out. So I got really good Goodyear hose from a local industrial supply house. So what it does is it goes up to the pump, or to the filter, through the filter, down to a T. One end of the T, actually, I'm pretty impressed with this idea of mine. It goes behind the mill, up, and down through here to the coolant hoses. And I installed this coolant distribution block, which Tormach sells. Gives you 6 outputs, and then there's one on the side here and one on the side here. I've got 2 open at a time, and when 3 are open, they kind of go bleh. But when 2 are open, I get a good pressure, and 2 is enough. So I don't need more than 3 of them. I'm pretty happy with routing the coolant hose over the top. You think it might get hot in there and it might rub stuff, but it doesn't. There's this perfect channel right in this chamfer right there. I noticed it was rubbing a little bit right here, so I just added a bumper today, and I chamfered this with a file. A little zip tie up to there, that's never gonna rub. It doesn't get that hot in there. I mean, it's good hose. There's clearance here, so it doesn't even rub. In case you haven't figured already, this is totally gonna be a rant video. I'm not gonna edit this too much. I'm just gonna take you along for the ride, and it's gonna be all shaky and stuff, so sit back. This T right here, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm super happy I finally did it. Wash down hose. So I just put a little photograph hook or whatever that is. Garden hose from Home Store, some fittings. So let's turn on the mill, and all we have to do to activate that is, if I turn on the coolant pump right now, right here, we'll get coolant out the nozzles. But if I close the ball valve, no pressure gets to here, pressure stays in the system, and then we go. So you can see the gauge is pressurizing up. I usually get about 6 psi, and then I just go up to my hose. Boom, baby! So although the coolant looks really kind of yellow and gross right now, it's old, but when it's in the cut and when it's flowing and everything, it's pretty clear. It's good, but we'll see what a white coolant looks like. But I've found the washdown hose to be extremely amazing. Previously I just used air, and psh, psh. The thing with air is it sprays everything back up at you. You gotta be kind of mindful about where you're spraying. You don't want to spray into the ways too much and into the ball screws and all that junk. So with the washdown hose, I just spray everything off. It of course makes everything wet, but it gets all the chips to flow down to the bottom, or wherever you want to spray them to. And then I go over here and I spray the walls, and I spray the trays, and I spray down at the bottom, and just let everything wash down. And it keeps the mill cleaner, which is excellent. Oh, one more thing is, one thing that I'm always tripping over is my air hose. Right there. Kind of bugs me every single time I walk over it, but I haven't been bothered to change it yet. When I was doing the coolant hose, I thought about putting an air hose inside as well, because I'm like, well, I want air inside the mill. I want to be able to blow stuff off inside the mill. I don't know if that's going to be the wisest choice. I see on all the big vertical machining centers, they often have it, right here. Which is a good place for it. So what I might do is route, the hose is already going right under the mill, so if I routed it and put a hook here and just had the nozzle, here, I think that'll be good. Because I don't want to trip on this hose. It's dangerous, it's stupid, and it's just in the way all the time. So I will be doing that, not in this video, I just want to mention it because it's something that bothers me. So I wanted to drain out my pump, so I turned on the coolant nozzles, and here's the kind of flow that I'm getting. See, I've got one smaller nozzle in the back and a bigger one in the front. It's a good pressure. When the nozzles are open, I'm getting 5 psi out, just over 5 psi in. It's a good pressure. It certainly washes everything down, keeps the cutter cool and clean. I've got them aimed so that they cross streams a little bit there. And that does look like pee. Well, gross pee. Oh, there's my pump. Yeah, that happened during a cut today and it broke the end mill. Surprise, surprise. I do have a mesh grate on the bottom of the tank that keeps the pump off the ground. Whoa! Yeah, there you go. You can see the grate. It's foaming as it's all flowing back in. Yeah, you can see the grate on the bottom. Keeps the pump about an inch or two off the ground so that any chip accumulation hopefully doesn't get sucked up. Whatever. I think I wrote, yeah, I wrote last cleaned September 15th, 14. So that was 7 months. Holy cow, that was 7 months ago. Cleaned 7 months ago. Let's see how much chips are in there. The last time I cleaned the tank is also when I first installed the filter. And you can see how much stuff is getting through. And that's just the big stuff. The filter is also catching a whole bunch of tiny stuff, which is really good. It's doing its job. So here's my the first drain pan, where the coolant goes. There's a piece of mesh in there, and then it drains into this catch can. You can see I put a plumbing fitting in here, which goes to my PVC pipes and down into the tub. Yeah, quite a bit of accumulated crap in here. Yep, quite a bit. You can see all the paint peeling. It looks worse than it was last time. Gunky junky. You know, just generally gross. But pretty much everybody says that cleaning out your coolant sump is one of the worst jobs in a machine shop. So whatever, this isn't a big deal. It's just gross. But it's neat to know that all that stuff did not end up in the tank. We'll see how much stuff is in the tank. So I'm using my shop vac with Dust Deputy to suck up all the junk from there. And one thing I didn't even think about is I should have gotten that powder coated when I got everything else powder coated. It didn't even occur to me. But as you can see, the paint is just peeling and bubbling and ugh, gross. So in the future, if I ever get anything powder coated or want to do it, then it's easy enough to pull out. No big deal. So I'll keep that in mind. So the preliminary analysis of how much junk is in the bottom of this guy. A lot after 7 months. It doesn't let you access that 2 inches of water in the bottom, so you can't go as low as I might like to, but whatever. So to combat that, one thing I'd like to do is I've seen a few guys put some foam under their drain catch to catch all those big chips. And I saw a great picture on Instagram. I'm going to link it in, I'm going to put it in the video now. This guy said he just got this stuff from the aquarium store, or pet store. Just placed it underneath his drain, and it catches everything. And every few months he throws it out and puts new stuff in, and it catches everything. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to do that. The trick is, this cannot overflow. In my house, in my garage here, it absolutely cannot overflow. So I can't put it there, because then this could overflow, and if this overflows, it drains all over my floor, and that's just unacceptable. So I'll have to put it here, but in a way that if it does get compacted and overflows, it'll just bypass the little strainer and fall right into the tank here. So I'll figure out a way to do that one day. So what was left of the coolant in there, I simply put into a bucket with the pump in it, and I'm using the filter to filter the coolant, so that at least it's fairly clean coolant, as ugly as it may be. At least it's not all particulate-y. See the pressure dropping, and stop that before I burn up the pump. So I will say that cleaning out a Rubbermaid tub is a lot easier than cleaning out some welded factory thing with, you know, small access ports and everything. This is just super easy. You pull it out and you just wipe it down. I love the fact that it's orange because I can see everything. It makes it so bright and airy inside. So everything, all the chips, all the dirt, all the stuff shows up, and when I've got coolant in it, I can just shine a flashlight from the outside and see the coolant level. I might actually want a bigger tank because I have to refill this one with water maybe every week if I'm running the machine a lot, which is not that bad. But a little bit bigger tank would let me go a little bit farther before having to do a refill. Alright, I just remembered something that I know I'll get flack for if I don't mention it. So I first heard about Qualichem from Brad Martin from Tactical Keychains. He's got a YouTube channel, he makes awesome stuff. He was the first person really that I'd heard of using it maybe 6 months to a year ago. It seems like that's when it started to get really popular, or soon after that, because that's when I started hearing a lot more about it. But maybe it's one of those things that it's always there, but when you hear one thing, then you hear more and you hear more, and all of a sudden it's a big thing. So maybe it's a perception thing, but I think it is getting a lot more popular in the machining world, both on the hobby side and in the professional side. So thank you, Brad, for being the first one. He's running 291. Almost everybody else I've heard of is running the 250 series. I don't know. Even my sales rep was like, I don't think you're going to care. You're not going to notice the difference. The 250 or 251 is going to be great for you anyway. So I think the 291 is just thicker and more aggressive, like more lubricating, because you'll need that for stainless and titanium, like for really heavy duty machining, but I don't do heavy duty machining. So I should be super happy with 251. So I do love having this filter as a removable unit, because look at that, I've got all this room to work. I can unscrew it. I already cracked it off, so I loosened it a little bit. There we go. Comes with a handy wrench. Leaking. I should probably put a bucket under this. Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, it's not leaking that much, just a tiny bit. Completely full, of course. Alright. Yeah. At this point, I've got everything cleaned up. I've got my bucket totally cleaned up, wiped down with Simple Green and paper towels. I filled a bucket full of just tap water, put the pump back in, flushed the whole system out into another bucket in the mill, and replaced the filter. So I think we're pretty much good to go to put the Qualichem in here. I was looking through my stash and I found this stuff. Air return filter pad. I got this from Home Depot. And it's kind of a filtery material. So I might try to figure out how to put, here's my catch can with the drain, how to somehow put this under here so that it'll at least catch a lot of the sediment, because there was a lot under there and I'd rather not do that. And all this paint peeling off here is only going to get worse, and I'd rather not have that get into the Qualichem. So I'll see if I can rig something up for that. My battery's dying, so I'll see you guys soon. So I have the beginning workings of a cool idea here. It just came to me. So my mesh that goes on the bottom of the tank so that the pump is sitting up off the bottom, not sucking up chips. It's not totally necessary because that pump is designed to sit on the bottom as long as there's not a bunch of gunk. If I can strain all this stuff and not have it settle on the bottom, we should be good to go. So my thinking is, what if I put this like this, put this right here, and have that sit underneath the output. So then all I have to do, I've already made this, all I have to do is figure out how to attach it right here. Simply one layer of this stuff, like that. I'm thinking some zip ties from here around the tube. Maybe I'll drill a little hole here for some anchoring. Piece of string from the corner to there. Should be good enough for now anyway, just a good proof of concept. It'll all drain through this mesh. Any overflow will just go off the sides, no big deal. I'm always opening the lid to check the tank level anyway. It'll be super easy to replace this, even weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, which should be plenty often enough. So yeah, super easy. I'm liking that. I'm liking that idea a lot. Okay, before I do that, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. I'm going to mix up the Qualichem into my bucket. I've got some distilled water from the store. There's controversy back and forth whether you need distilled water or if tap water is just fine. Some people have really hard water. I think mine's fairly soft for my city water. A lot of people who are using distilled water say they don't get any rust anymore. And everybody who's not using it and just using tap water says, meh, no big deal. It's cheap insurance. I only have like an 8-gallon tank here, maybe a little bit more. I think I spent $15 for all this water. And if I just maintain it with distilled water, I'm using the best coolant I can buy. I'm using the best water I can use. Why not? I don't want rust anymore. Rust is pissing me off. So I'm going to install that. I just want to make sure that I have enough water to fill what I need, because otherwise I got to go to the store and top it up. Doesn't smell too bad. Smells thick. I could do the pouring spout here, but feel like that would make more of a mess than if I just put my bucket inside. I want to make sure not to get a bunch of dirt and chips in there. Okay, so they say with coolant, always put the water in first and then add the coolant to the water. It's some sort of emulsifying trick. There's theory and chemistry involved in that, but it's like how you always add acid to water. Otherwise you could I think you can actually harm the coolant or have it not mix properly if you put the coolant in first and add a bunch of water to it. So I don't know, I'm no expert, so I'm just going to follow the directions and read the precautions on the box. Oh, I ripped my glove. Hate doing that. Alright, so that was 8 jugs of 4 liters, which is a gallon each. So this is 8 gallons. Okay, my level is right about there. Here's where my drain comes out, so I could probably fit another gallon in, but not too much more. The pump's going to take up almost a gallon of physical space. As you can see, clear orange tub, I can see my water line just by having light shine in the top. So I've thought about putting a submersible lamp in there, which would be cool because then just I can flip the switch, but the lid on this thing is so easy just to lift up and look inside. The 1 liter jugs was kind of nice as opposed to having a big tub like this, because then I can measure it and manage it better than rather than putting like 1 1/4 of these in or whatever it takes. So that's good. As you can see, there's still oil and junk floating on the top from the inside. Not a big deal. That's what the filter is for. So now I'm going to use my scoop and measure out. I can run this stuff at 5 to 10%. My cooling rep said 7 would be a great starting point, and I can always tweak it and add more coolant or more water down the road. So I'll start at 7 and see how that goes. I'll have to figure out the math. 8 gallons of water, 7%, and I'll figure that out. And luckily those are 4 liters. The little thingy here measures in 1 liter. So I can just put in a certain amount of 1 liters and it should be pretty easy math. So the magic number is, for 8 gallons of water, 2.24 liters of coolant. And this is a 20 liter pail, so I'm taking 2 1/4 liters from it. It should last for quite a while. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bite when jugs of coolant, can't even see it. Anyway, the 1 gallon jugs are like $20 or $30, whereas one of these is, $200. So that's a bit of a money bite, but lasts for a long time, and it's the best, so that's good. Okay, let's do 2.24. So the liter is just about all the way to the top. Ooh, it's thick and oily. That is exactly a liter. Whoa, it's dripping and oily. Ugh. Perfect. Here we go. Whoa, check it out. That is so beautiful. Wow. It smells like coolant, like oil-based coolant, but it smells pretty good, I guess. Alright, let's do 1 more, and then 1/4. Yeah, perfect. I should really get one of those paint stirring things that you put on the end of your drill. Alright, now we just need 1/4 and then we're done. So all I've done is taken the bucket and just stirred it around, and all of a sudden that layer of oil on top has turned to milk. Yeah, this was my theory for rinsing off the bucket, or the jug, which is kind of working. Kind of not, but yeah, we'll just keep stirring it up. Alright, so I got my mesh thingy figured out. I had some welding wire, some aluminum welding wire, 16th inch and 1/8 inch, from years ago when I used to do a little bit of welding. And I've come up with this. So I bent the 1/8 inch welding wires in various shapes. I drilled 4 holes in the thingy, had the wires loop around, and just did that. quick and dirty. It works awesome. I can bend the wires to tension it and adjust it. It's pretty stable. It's not going anywhere. I love it. And then I can just cut strips of this, or I can get thicker stuff or whatever, slide it under the wire, and then replacements are just slip it out, put a new one in. A ladybug has fallen in my coolant. I'm happy with that. That's going to keep 90% of the chips out of the tank. And then the pre-filter over there is going to keep 100% of the chips out of the coolant going to the cutter. So good stuff. I think I'm ready to wrap it up and get this thing started. Back together. It's installed. You can see the tray. I had a hard time getting the angle kind of flat, even after bending the wires a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. I can always keep an eye on it and check it every day or every week or whatever. And I realized after it drains for a little bit, I could easily get the shop vac in there and shop vac up any chips that are accumulating on the pad there. So that's good. And I could probably use another gallon of liquid in the bottom, bring it up to just below the tray there. But this is good. At least now that I don't have the rack on the bottom, I get another 2 inches of fluid suckage on the bottom, so that's good. Yeah, so the last thing I need to verify, now that I know exactly that I put 7% in there. I put so much water and so much oil, and it should be exactly 7%. So this is a coolant tester's best friend. It's a portable refractometer. I bought this one from Tormach, but you can get them from eBay or anywhere really. And what it does is you put a drop of coolant on there and you look up to the light and you can see the line. It's super easy. The cool thing about oil-based coolants is this reads in bricks reading, which is kind of a different scale, but a reading of 7 will be 7% for this coolant. Apparently every coolant can be different, but like with my synthetic coolant that I was running before, it was roughly half. So 7% would be 3.5 bricks. And that was always confusing to me and just off, and I never knew exactly where to set it and all that stuff. I didn't try hard enough. But with this stuff, yeah, apparently it's 1-to-1, so if it reads 7 on the meter, then it should be 7 exactly. So I'm going to measure that and see what it comes out at. It should be perfect. If not, I can at least calibrate the reading so that I know a reading of 8.5 or whatever it ends up reading is exactly the right mixture for 7% because I mixed it. Every time I top up water, because it does evaporate through use, I have to make sure to measure the reading and always add oil with the water so that we keep the reading happy. One thing I forgot to mention is to always calibrate your refractometer, because my coolant rep was saying she calibrates hers like every week or every couple times a week. So you take some distilled water or whatever water you are using for the thing, for your coolant, put a drop on there, close it up. You can see how it kind of wets under there. And then I'm just going to look up to the light, and I see that reads exactly 0, which is what you want. I don't know if you can get in there and see it.
Oh. I see a 20.
Can you see a 0 at the bottom?
Not really.
No?
No.
Okay, that didn't work. But anyway, there's an adjustment screw on the top. Always make sure it's at 0 so that your reading is accurate. I did do a drop of coolant, and it read 6.25. It's supposed to read 7, so I'm going to write that down probably on the jug right there, so that this meter reads 6.7 or 6.25 when it's supposed to read 7, and then I can use that math to always top it up to 6.5 to 6.25. Anyway, or I'm going to put a note actually in my refractometer, which I did last time for the old coolant. So I'm just going to throw that one away and do a new note. That way I always know. Seems to be working. Yeah, it's very white. Kind of blue, actually. Cool. Let's cut some titanium. Well, that's working great.
Look at that. It's a lot of garbage.
Alright, first machining job just done with the new Qualichem. As you can see, a nice pile of titanium chips there. So what we did is we faced down all these handles. I had a video of that, my last video. I haven't read any of the comments yet. I probably had some really good suggestions in there, but one guy did tell me through Instagram that the higher RPM finishing pass, where I just take off a few thou, is probably what's killing the inserts. Anyway, these look a lot shinier than they did with the old coolant. I haven't changed speeds and feeds, anything. I just put fresh inserts in, so they look a lot shinier. And awesomely enough, I was looking at my inserts, and the white section is where the I did it before with the old coolant. And if I look at it with the loop, I can see flat spots and little chips missing from it. If I look at the new section, it hardly looks worn at all. Like, it looks almost brand new, just mildly discolored, but none of this scrubbing and chipping and all that stuff. So the lubricant aspect of this Qualichem is fantastic compared to this junk I was using before. So that's amazing. Super happy with it so far. It's definitely got an interesting aroma in the garage, especially if I go inside and come back out after it's been running for a while. You'd notice it. So we're gonna have to take a while to get used to it. It's not an offensive, bad smell or anything. It's just a new smell that we have to get used to. So we'll definitely be enjoying this Qualichem. I love it. I don't think there's really anything else to say, although we can use the washdown hose. I don't think I actually showed that before. So turn off the ball valve, turn on the coolant, grab up here, aha! Oh, guess I should aim the camera. Eric's got it on flat. I tend to like it on center. If I can find it. Yeah, I can wash down the windows, wash down all the chips here. Can even get the far corners. Get all this stuff washed down. So just running 6 psi is not a lot of pressure. I mean, a garden hose is running at about 40 in your house. So that's definitely a lot more pressure, but this is just enough. If I upgraded to the 1/3 horsepower pump instead of the 1/6 horsepower, I'd probably have the pressure that I'm looking for this, for the hose. But as far as coolant pressure, I'm happy with this 1/6 horsepower pump. Just hang that back up. Well, so there you have it. We should wrap this up. New filter's looking good. A few little spots in there, no big deal. It's doing its job. I'll probably replace that guy every 3 months or more, or sooner. But yeah, loving it. Good stuff. Next week, you gonna make noise? Next week, Eric and I are going to a machine tool show open house. So it's 6 different machine tool retailers. And the smell of this Qualichem reminds me, like, it puts me back at that show last year. And I know for a fact this year, Toronto Lube is using Qualichem in the machines at this show. So they probably did last year as well. So yeah, I can totally smell that show and those machines, like the DMG machines and everything, the Moris and everything, because they were probably using Qualichem, and it's awesome. Anyway, that's probably a very long rambling video, but if you like coolant, maybe it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and Cheers. Bye.